My God, this man is a genius. This crankshaft could no longer be glued with adhesive as the central component of the engine. Replacing it with a new one would have cost several €100, but in the hands of this man, it was repaired in just a few minutes. The man installed the broken crankshaft on the lathe. Since the glue couldn't hold the crack, he welded it with silver for only $20. The man was able to restore it to its original state. He used a turning tool to smooth the rough surface of the brake. This man's technique for repairing drive shafts is famous in the local automotive repair community, especially among garages that prefer to replace parts. They are really irritated by this man, you know what I mean. The rough surface of this man's work was quickly transformed into a simple size it was treated. Then he started to take care of the other half. He lifted the other side on the lathe and began to turn it in the same way as before. But this time he had to create a groove so that it could be assembled with the other piece later. This type of repair poses a new problem. The length would be a bit shorter, but the man had his own solution. After smoothing the brake surface, he began using drill bits from small to large to gradually drill through the crankshaft. Finally, he measured the size with a caliper and noted it. Both sides of the crankshaft were treated. If the crankshaft were installed as is, it would certainly be too short, which is unacceptable. To achieve the original length, the man found another unused gear shaft to connect the two sides of the crankshaft. Thus the length was sufficient, provided this gear shaft was also treated. He had to drill a hole at one end and create a notch at the other end to connect the two sides of the crankshaft. One side was finished, then he turned it over and treated the other side. Quickly, the size of the notch was almost perfect, but it wasn't finished yet. Since this piece was not the original one, he had to drill an oil hole in the middle. This was considered finished, then he could connect this gear shaft to the crankshaft. As for whether the final length was correct, it depended on the man's precision with the caliper. As the central component of the engine, it obviously couldn't be used as is, but the versatile lathe in Pakistan can almost do anything. The crankshaft was placed on it for an initial weld, then the excess gear was removed. At this stage, the crankshaft repair had already taken shape, and even once completely finished, you couldn't tell it had been repaired. The crankshaft was polished with a belt, then finally a last polish with a cloth for the finish. The repaired crankshaft for $20 was completed. If it were you, would you choose to repair it or replace it with a new one?